So I'm going to read to you guys from Carl Sagan's Cosmos. Excellent book. Covers everything from the Big Bang all the way up to present day, a lot of physics and space stuff, but also a lot of science of all different types. And this applies a lot to what we're learning about natural selection and artificial selection. So this starts on page 19. Let me tell you a story about one little phrase in the music of life on Earth. In the year 1185, the Emperor of Japan was a 7-year-old boy named Antoku. Sorry if I got that wrong. He was the nominal leader of a clan of samurai called Heike, who were engaged in a long and bloody war with another samurai clan, the Genji. Each asserted a superior ancestral claim to the imperial throne. Their decisive naval encounter with the emperor aboard a ship occurred at Danaura in a Japanese inland sea on April 24th, 1185. The Heike were outnumbered and outmaneuvered. Many were killed. The survivors, in massive numbers, threw themselves into the sea and drowned. The Lady Ni, grandmother of the emperor, resolved that she and Antoku would not be captured by the enemy. What happened next is told in the tale of Heike. The emperor was 7 years old that year, but looked much older. He was so lovely that he seemed to shred a brilliant radiance, and his long black hair hung loose far down his back. With a look of surprise and anxiety on his face, he asked Lady Ni, "Where are you to take me?" She turned to the youthful sovereign with tears streaming down her cheeks and comforted him. Binding up his long hair in a dove-colored robe, blinding him with tears, the child sovereign put his beautiful small hands together. He turned first to the east to say farewell to the god of ice, and then to the west to repeat the Nimbutsu, a prayer for the Ami Buddha. The Lady Ni took him tightly in her arms, and with the words, "In the depths of the ocean is our capital," sank with him the last beneath the waves. The entire Heike battle fleet was destroyed. Only 43 women survived. The ladies in waiting of the imperial court were forced to sell flowers and other favors to the fishermen near the scene of the battle. The Heike almost vanished from history. But a ragtag group of former ladies in waiting and their offspring by the fisherfolk established a festival to commemorate the battle. It takes place on the 24th of April every year to this day. Fishermen, who are the descendants of the Heike, dress in hemp and black headgear and proceed to the Akama shrine, which contains a mausoleum to the drowned emperor. There they watch a play portraying the events that followed the Battle of Danaura. For centuries after, people imagined that they could discern ghostly samurai armies vainly striving to bail to the sea, to cleanse it of blood and defeat and humiliation. The fishermen say that the Heike samurai wander the bottoms of the inland sea still in the form of crabs. Here's where the science comes along, guys. There are crabs to be found here with curious markings on their backs, patterns and indentations that disturbingly resemble the faces of samurai. When caught, these crabs are not eaten, but returned to the sea in commemoration of the doleful events of Danaura. Got goosebumps, guys. The legend raises a lovely problem. How does it come about that the faces of warrior have incised on the carapace of the crab? The answer seems to be that humans made that face. The patterns on the crab shell are inherited, but among crabs, as among people, there are many different heredity lines. Suppose that by chance, among the distant ancestors of the crab, one arose with a pattern that resembled even slightly a human face. Even before the Battle of the Danaura, fishermen may have been reluctant to eat such a crab. In throwing it back, they set in motion an evolutionary process. If you are a crab and your carapace is ordinary, the humans will eat you. Your line will have fewer descendants. If your carapace looks a little like a face, they'll throw you back. You will have more descendants. Crabs had a substantial investment in the patterns on their carapaces. As the generations passed of crabs and fishermen alike, the crabs with patterns that most resembled samurai faces survived preferentially until eventually there was produced not just human faces, not just Japanese faces, but the visage of the fierce and scowling samurai. All of this has nothing to do with what crabs want. Selection is imposed from the outside. The more you look at the samurai, the better are your chances of survival. The more they look like a samurai, the more their chances are better for survival. Eventually, there come to be a great many samurai crabs. This process is called artificial selection. That's what we're learning about this week, guys. In this case of the Heike crab, it was affected more or less unconsciously by the fishermen, and certainly without any serious contemplation by the crabs. But humans have deliberately selected which plants and which animals shall live and which shall die for thousands of years. We are surrounded from babyhood by familiar farm and domestic animals, fruits and trees and vegetables. Where do you think they all come from? Were they once free living in the wild and then induced to adopt a less strenuous life on a farm? No, the truth is quite different. They are, most of them, made by us. 10,000 years ago, there were no dairy cows or ferret hounds or large ears of corn. When we domesticated the ancestors of these plants and animals, sometimes creatures who look quite different were controlled their breeding. We made sure that certain varieties having properties we consider desirable preferably reproduced. When we wanted a dog to help us care for sheep, we selected breeds that were intelligent, obedient, and some pre-existing talent to herd, which was useful for animals who hunt in packs. The enormous distended udders of dairy cattle were the result of human interest in milk and cheese. Our corn or maize has been bred 10,000 generations to be more tasty and nutritious than its scrawny ancestors. Indeed, it's so changed that it cannot even reproduce without human intervention. The essence of artificial selection for Heike crab, a dog, a cow, or an ear of corn is this: many physical and behavioral traits of plants and animals are inherited. They breed true. Humans, for whatever reason, encourage the reproduction of some variety and discourage the reproduction of others. The variety selected for preferentially reproduces. It eventually becomes abundant. The variety selected against becomes rare or even extinct. But if humans can make new varieties of plants and animals, must not nature do so also? This related process is called natural selection, the other topic we're covering this week. If life has changed fundamentally over the eons, is entirely clear from the alterations we have made in the beasts and the vegetables during the short tenure of humans on Earth, and from fossil evidence. The fossil record speaks to us unambiguously of creatures that once were present in enormous numbers and now have vanished entirely. Far more species have become extinct in the history of Earth than exist today, and they are terminated experiments of evolution. That the mechanism of evolution is natural selection is the greatest discovery associated with the name Charles Darwin and Alfred Russel Wallace. More than a century ago, they stressed that nature is prolific, that many more animals and plants are born than can possibly survive, and that therefore the environment selects those varieties which are, by accident, better suited for survival. Mutations, remember DNA mutations? Yeah. Sudden changes in heredity breed true. They provide the raw material of evolution. The environment selects those few mutations that enhance survival, resulting in a series of slow transformations of one life form into another. The origin of a new species. So I love that. I love that a book that's about our universe includes starting off with natural and artificial selection right in the very beginning. So I want you to think about that next time you see a dog that we have picked and we have selected because we like big dogs, we like little tiny lap puppies. Think about it with like fancy chickens, those pretty chickens with all the kind of cool feathers, those have been bred that way. So we as humans, and even our food, like they were talking about corn, you look at watermelons, bananas, anything seedless, those have been bred over generations and generations to be the best and the most delicious and the juiciest. Because if you were to just walk out into the forest, you're not going to go and find the same plants and things that you would find here. Compare a wild blueberry to a store-bought blueberry. So it's awesome the way that we can have that impact on our environment.